Welcome back to the Weekly Hijack.
Hello, Jack.
All right. Well,
this is Fire and Water.
Fire
plus water.
Fire plus water. I'm not sure how to pronounce this.
Which is ash, but
yeah. All I know is that this is the one episode I can think of in our watch through so far that I was actually dreading. To be honest, I still feel even after watching it, I still firmly believe this is my least favorite episode of Lost. I absolutely hate this episode.
You know what? And I was trying to give it a lot benefit of the doubt this time. There's parts of it that are neat ideas and stuff, but there's just a lot.
It's thoroughly unpleasant.
It is unpleasant.
The only things I enjoy about this episode are the Hurley Libby stuff.
Yeah. Which was really nice. Yeah.
And even some Kate Sawyer stuff at the beginning. You know, there's some relationships, but the whole Charlie story just doesn't work for me.
Well, and it's really, and the thing is, it is really dark for Charlie. I mean, at least it is true that it's true of the worst parts of his nature.
Yeah.
And that's not, just from a character involvement point of view, just kind of sad to watch.
Yeah. Well, you feel very, I feel very sick just kind of watching some of these situations and knowing what's about to happen to him.
Yeah.
And the feel that I get from it is that it's not even entirely his fault. Because I believe him. I don't believe he was taking the drug here, because I don't remember there being any story like him going through the withdrawals like he did the first time. And it could just be island magic, or it could be his own stress. It could be any number of things going on here. And it just bugs me.
The bizarre dream sequences just don't work for me either. I don't know. Lost occasionally will do kind of, they'll have Jin and Mr. Cluck's outfit, or
Claire had that one last season with Spooky Lock.
That's true. I don't know but it seems like this one is like you're supposed to take seriously, like the way they're playing it.
It doesn't help if they're trying to foreshadow something with Aaron. It's the whole Aaron thing was that one of those plot lines, that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, so when you watch it now, you're just like, Charlie's insane.
Yeah.
If they'd paid off some Aaron stuff, they'd be like, oh, this was all foreshadowing. Yeah. And I don't know which way it's supposed to be. Originally, now it comes off as Charlie's insane.
Yes. There's some interesting things even in his flashbacks. Like, it gives a greater sense of, because I've been kind of critical of Charlie in some of the recent recordings where he's kind of has the sense of self-importance. But the dream kind of shows another aspect to it. Maybe his family did sort of put this sort of burden of bring us out of the slums or whatever.
I'm not really sure what I feel about. It was perfectly fine, but it's odd to me when he has such a strong brother relationship in his flashback to bring us this kind of muddy, his mom putting that on, his dad wants to be a butcher, these new parental. It's there for the whole family issue, I guess. Uh-huh. But it kind of, in some ways, to me, muddies the water of the very strong Liam, Charlie. That was the main issue.
But at the same time, there's not even a whole lot of progress in that part of the flashback. We already knew Liam had problems. We already knew Liam screwed Charlie over several times. This just kind of throws in more fuel on the fire.
It just makes you feel horrible.
How terrible of a brother can you be when you sell your brother's piano?
And then go clean yourself up and leave your brother...
And then never call him back.
And then never care about him. Later, Charlie comes and... his brother has everything. He's clean. He has his family. And his brother is almost doesn't even care. He's like, why are you still doing drugs? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. His brother, it feels like that's it's a character that's not fully formed. It's just there to do bad things to Charlie for no really, what human would do this? It's not like it's even Sawyer, the con man Sawyer, Fox dad.
I can see this on the piano because honestly, this is the lowest point of Charlie's flashback and island life. Yeah. It doesn't get any worse for Charlie, really.
No, that's true. His impending death is actually a
lot better. Yeah. But the fact that Liam just kind of lets him hang out to dry forever, and
the fact that all the survivors, this is more, I guess, from a Christian perspective, it's not that surprising. But you see someone down that. Obviously, it was a pretty stupid thing Charlie did.
Okay, but at the same time, he killed someone.
Yeah, seriously. And when you see someone who's obviously hurting, who at least claims to be trying to do this for protection. The fact that no one was reaching out to him in all this, like Echo's like, hey, dude, I think he said, yeah, this wasn't my idea. You know, like he hadn't like talked to Claire in the process, like, you know, helped give Charlie some backing to, like, there was just so many characters in this episode that I felt were not very well written.
Honestly, I can see Locke doing that. Because Locke, you know, at some point...
Sometimes he gets in this very stubborn way of thinking.
And you know, he kind of has this, you know, when he decides he's going to protect or do something, he's going to do it. And he goes... And so
it is awfully odd, though, that this comes right after his saying, who are we to tell someone what they can or can't do? He feels very, like, immovable and uncompassionate here.
Yeah. And to bring up the Christian point of view, okay. So we kind of praise the 23rd Psalm for being, you know, written in such a way that it resonates really well with Christianity.
Okay,
there's a lot.
Their understanding of baptism is way off. I mean, now, I get the, you know, for the Claire's perspective, the child baptism thing, that's very Catholic. Yeah, I get that. But Echo's whole interpretation of the John the Baptist scene, no priest, even a you know, a not very good priest as he is, would have read that passage by now and would say, "Oh wait, that's not what it says at all."
And it's weird to me. They put this pretty heavy focus, like, oh, it's a good thing that he's baptized, but it's so taken out of any context for anyone who knows anything about religion. Yeah, that just makes me nuts.
Yeah,
and I don't know what you were even supposed to. You know, they play it like, oh, you feel good and we're set. But in the context of, there's been no religious feeling on Claire's part at all, or
there's really no.
Charlie I could see Charlie saying, but he was a Catholic, and then he was kind of half on. You know, he probably has a half understanding of things.
If he had even like been there to see it, you know, maybe he's like, oh well, I finally got my dreams meant something. But he's not even there for the scene. He doesn't even get to enjoy it. So it's like, what's the point?
And Echo comes off here as a pretty horrible priest.
Well, he's not a priest.
I know, but
he's at least had some experience by this point.
Yeah, we see him at some point that he did do some stuff, and he obviously knows his Bible. He can go around the quoting Josiah, finding the book of the law. I mean, he obviously is relatively well read. Granted, even then that story didn't quite apply to what we were talking about. So maybe he's just good at throwing stories out and like horrible hermeneutics. I mean, like he just, you know, he never had this seminary training. So,
man. No, Stranger for a Strange Land and next season is credited as being one of the writers thinking one of their worst, and it changed the direction of Lost. But this one is the most frustrating to me. Like there's very few redeeming factors in it, I think. Which, you know, this is Lost. This is the show that we're constantly, you know,
we're like
singing the praises.
Like, this is a great episode. I forgot about this, but it wasn't this awesome. But you could tell. You know, I joked early, you know. And Lucia was talking about, you crash land on an island, or you just, you know, and it's like this whole episode was basically, and it was interesting. Someone else said, "What is this, junior high to Sawyer?" And it kind of was like a junior high, episode, like who's in who and who's loving, and let's have a battle between the dweeb and the boss and the bully, and I mean, it was kind of it had kind of that feel of.
I'm really curious now who wrote it.
Well,
it was a lot.
It was Eddie. It was Adam and Eddie.
The Once Upon a
Time people. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys.
But you know, I bring up kind of this. I believe they used to write locker dramas, you know, high school drama.
Oh, really?
Sort of stories.
That's funny.
And then that's how it felt. But it was a funny little like half connection. And they did push family and relationships and so, you know, so there were, you know, I usually to bring out the ways that things kind of paralleled each other, plot lines and stuff. And there were some of that going on, but just the fact. Yeah. Though, without this episode, we would not have the flashback of Charlie and his brother in diapers.
The diaper scene.
You all everybody's.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind missing that.
Oh, it's so memorable, though.
It's so embarrassing.
Well, but you know, it's interesting. Charlie's very childish in this episode. See, here's my English teacher coming out. No, but I wouldn't be surprised if they threw that out there. Like, oh yeah, we could use this as a, you know, but he is very baby oriented. Is very, if you want to not like Charlie, very childish,
simplistic thinking.
Yeah,
it's true. But all right, do we have time for another one? Just kind
Yeah, let's go for it.
of okay. Well, one more to kind of cleanse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just finished the long con, and this is one that I particularly remembered. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, those who didn't, if you saw any of, you have any clue what Sawyer was actually up to in this episode?
Well, I reached over and I asked Nick if he was really going to con the girl
Uh-huh.
in the end.
Oh, in the flashback.
Yeah.
Do you know he was conning them on the island?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, I didn't know.
No.
Did you remember that, Natasha?
No, I forgot it was him on the island. Well, and this whole time, I knew the episode was called The Long Con. This whole time, I was thinking it had to do with it being flipped on him.
Oh, where he was at
He
the
was being
tail end of.
conned,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know why I think that.
Gotcha. No, I just remember the scene at the fire very vividly with
Yeah.
him kind of doing the flip, and I know Sawyer ends with I'm not a good person, but at the same time, this one you kind of dig the roguish nature of it. Like it feels sort of like knowing what's going to happen. It feels like watching a long heist sort of thing,
Like Ocean's 11.
yeah. And it's sort of. It's honestly sort of satisfying seeing Jack and Locke put in their place for a change. Maybe particularly like, Charlie said, wanting to see some vengeance from the last episode. Who knows?
Okay, The Long Con, I've always really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
And I bring up the title a lot when I talk about Lost, because you always feel like, at least, especially as Lost goes on, it is a long con. Most of their plot lines are...
Ben is constantly conning people.
What you think is happening is not what's happening. And this episode plays great because on two different levels, they try to trick the audience.
Yeah, two different cons at the same time.
And most of them, and they work.
Uh-huh. Well, the funny...
It's like watching The Prestige, and
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about the flashback is that it is sort of both. Sawyer is conning the woman, and he is, generally, having feelings for her. So, that part isn't, false, but he still goes through with it.
And he's conning his partner, too.
Oh, I had never thought of it that way.
Because, he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. It
Yeah.
takes until it's taken half of it. He's taken
the whole thing.
600,000.
I hadn't thought of it that
I
way.
think.
I had assumed that he would go back to him afterwards.
Well,
but
maybe he does. I mean, but I don't know
guess-
why you do that whole thing about your partner finding out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of ambiguous.
I
But
mean,
good point.
Either way,
Yeah.
the authors are also, the writers are also conning us.
Yes.
The way they set up, and Lucia asked about what is the combination? And I mean, they play scenes just right.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, and this is also in many ways Sawyer's darkest episode, where he's the most of his bad side.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. His bad side, like you say, feels better, lots better than Charlie's bad side.
Yeah. Well,
I think because conning people has this sort of triumphant, like, I won sort of thing, and Charlie doesn't win.
no.
Sawyer
got to make a big speech, and sure, he's lost some ground. I mean, he had been on very good
Yeah.
terms with Kate up until this time. They've been doing a lot of flirting, a lot of, kind of laughing at each other. But now it's like, Kate's like, oh, you're hurting me again.
Yeah,
kinda
and
thing.
basically you just want to be hated, and it's probably partly that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he also probably just wants to make Jack look dumb.
Yeah. So, usually, you and I, we've talked against this. Well, in Stranded Freddy,
Yeah.
we've talked against the idea of the thieves kind of being
I
glorified.
know, I
And
know.
I'm usually feel the same way. But in this situation, the writers were sort of playing, that,
I know, playing both
that
sides of it.
tendency.
Yeah,
that tendency to glorify the thief a little,
yeah.
But
But they at least recognize, like, how would you even think of something like that?
yes, no normal person should do this sort of thing.
They want you to realize while you're like, oh, that's super clever. Because that's why you'll think it's cool, because, oh man, he conned everyone. That's a clever, intelligent thing. That they don't drop the point of, look, morally, this is not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you did do something pretty terrible.
And
to
we do
Son,
have
but-
kind of this good person mini thing going. The others are looking. You're not a good person, Aunt Lucia, and Saeed's not a good person, and Charlie's not. They really are not emphasizing, but that's almost seems like something they're dropping a lot of this season.
That's an interesting point.
It's like they decided this season, like, okay, we brought people up a little bit last season. We're going to just kind of, Locke gets beat down really bad this season too, near the end with the
Yeah.
the blast doors and things.
Yep. Actually, a very good use, going back to Anna Lucia real quick, very good use of her in this episode.
Yeah.
Playing into her, paranoia, and then everyone's kind of unsuspicious of her.
And the audience is suspicion of her. In theory, that people don't like her, so like, we'll go with this.
Mm-hmm. And, Echo only, showed up at the very end there. So, it's tricky sometimes to use the tail section people when you've got all these really strong characters, but good use of her.
Well, it's interesting, and they lead in the episode with Charlie and Sawyer talking.
Yeah, that's true.
And, in a very great way about, you got locked to punch you. That's like getting Gandhi to hit you. A very refreshing recap of what happened last episode. Mm-hmm. But then you don't see Charlie hardly at all.
Yeah.
They basically drop him out. They're not going to try to...
Until the end.
Yeah. So you can just forget about them. They got a lot of moving pieces, and you have to do that for a long time. Mm. So I've always enjoyed not only this episode, but just... I remember first time watching, I'm like, that was cool.
That was a nice writing trick or sleight of hand.
A lot of sleight of hand.
And like you said, a good sort of blueprint for how Lost writers think.
Yes, everything is deception in Lost. You can't believe anything anyone says.
Very much.
Yeah, everything is lies. Everything is lies. Though, then you got that really sticky question of, did you do that to Son? And he's like, no, I didn't. And then Charlie. So not only was he horrible last episode, but now he actually hurt another person. In a very cowardly way. Mm-hmm. And that comes back to haunt him later a little bit. At least they have consequence. Again, it's not like a big deal, but they don't forget it. They don't say, hey, I think the writers understood to have one islander do that to another one, pretending to be an other.
They have to come back to it.
And they play into the audience, the others. Oh no, they're taking. And
although it's interesting because I was remembering that all this was going on. It's like, it seems weird that they would not pick up on that, like the others hadn't. They would just leave Son alone out in the middle of the woods. That they wouldn't get away with all this. It seemed kind of, but then Sawyer geniusly, actually kind of calls back to that. It's like, wait a minute, there's problems with this.
Yeah, I know, it's great. It plays the audience very well.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do. Nowadays, these people are always looking for the twist or the. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure some people are guessing, well, maybe he's actually conning the girl, and you can't get away with people guessing that once you start getting into that lost their lying mindset.
Yes. But it is better than what we got to complaining about once upon a time about sometimes, where the villain's like, aha, and this is all part of my plan.
And you're like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, there's no way you would be able to predict all that. But in this case, you see all the characters' interactions, and all makes sense how you could sort of see one flowing into the other.
And he says, how would I know? I think, and he knows cons are fluid. You just play with them.
Yeah, no, there's certainly some of that too.
And they throw in the bad twin thing, which I remember being a big deal back in that when it came out, because there was actually a book they published by the guy who... Gary, I want to say Thwarp or something like that, is the guy who gets sucked into the plane engine in the pilot.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, it's his
novel?
His novel. And I think they actually published it.
Really?
At some point, yeah.
Okay.
Bad Twin.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because, Bad Twin, you got to talk... I don't know anything about what the novel is or if it's any good or anything. But, if you want to play into, it's their foreshadowing, you got the Jacob Man in Black sort of thing going on. And I knew they knew about Jacob from this season because Ben mentions him.
Does it? Okay.
I believe.
Well, yeah, at the very end, I think.
Yeah.
At the very least. Nice. And another nice little foreshadowing, too, with Hurley saying there's a nice little radio scene where they pick up some strange music signal, which is very, very pretty scene.
Yeah.
But Saeed's like, this could have come from anywhere. And Hurley's like, or any time. Just kidding.
It's so great because
nice foreshadowing of time.
I think it's one of those things that are like, would like to do this sometime or another. And
maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know if this is... I just saw the writers' names. I've seen them before, but I don't know what episodes.
Okay.
I think the story writers are only season 1 and 2.
Okay.
I wonder if they even were part of the Rousseau episode that was supposed to have time in it and then didn't. That'd be interesting to look up.
Which one?
When she talks about what the French team was supposed to be studying.
Oh, okay.
In rough drafts, apparently, it was supposed to be about they were studying time. But the network said, no, we're not going to get all science fiction-y.
That was before they cut him loose.
Before they're like, what? You're getting ratings, go for it. Anyways, a satisfying episode.
Yes, I'm glad to end with that one for tonight.
And it kind of brings completion this very mini. They've only touched it, and it very subtly handled this whole Saeed moving out of his depression.
Yes, that's true.
We only see him for half a scene, but Hurley's like, dude, I was just trying to make you feel better.
Yeah.
You know.
All right,
that was good.
Yep, that was good. Thanks for listening to the Weekly Hijack.
This has been Nick.
And this is Tim. Bye-bye.
Adios.